Nancy Joe, right?
Correct.
And we have not met before,
We have
correct?
not.
Okay. And you stated that your husband, or my husband, told you that he was going through a divorce. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And did you have any way to verify that?
No, I didn't try to verify that.
Okay. So did it surprise you later to find out that we were not in the process of a divorce?
Charles was in the process of a divorce.
He was not in the process of a divorce. Did it surprise you to find that out? You've seen it all on TV where we're not getting divorced.
Okay.
So on the website that you met him, did he say he was divorced?
I'm not certain.
Would you have gone on a date with him if he would have said he was married?
If I would have realized how married he still was, maybe not. But I just met for dinner. I wasn't sleeping with him or anything.
Do you go on dates with married men?
I'm going to
Not
object
naturally?
Argumentative. I'm going to also object under 611 for harassment.
All right. I'll sustain the objection.
Your Honor, do I not have a right to cross-examine this witness for what she has already testified to?
You can cross-examine her about what she's testified to.
So you did go on a date with a married man,
I went on a date with Charles.
but you did not know he was married.
I knew his divorce was not final.
His divorce was not started.
Okay.
Okay. So in your text messages, you asked Charles if he was a good kisser. Is that correct?
Maybe, sure.
Did he answer that text message?
I'm
gonna
sure.
object to
I'm sure he did.
relevance. Again, 611 harassment.
I'll sustain the objection for relevance and hearsay.
So are you trying to tell me and this jury that you went on one date with my husband and he told you all the details of our lives?
I'm telling you the truth, and that's what I know.
So you spent your whole date getting to know each other, talking about me.
Don't flatter yourself. No, we did not spend the whole time talking about you.
You knew a lot about me, right?
I knew what I've testified to.
What else did you talk about on your date?
Lots of things.
Like what, for instance?
Life, kids, the church, lots of things.
Okay. Did he tell you about anything about our other 4 children?
Yes,
So you knew that we did have 5 children as well?
I did.
Okay. Did he talk to you about my daughter Tylee?
He did.
Did he talk about his relationship with her?
I don't recall that.
Did he talk about the contention in his relationship with my daughter Tylee?
I don't recall that.
I'm sure you don't.
And I'm going to object to comments by the defendant made after questions testifying.
We'll sustain the objection.
On your date, you talked about my husband was a life insurance salesman. Is that correct?
I knew he did something with money and insurance, but I really didn't know the details of what he did for work. Like I said, I don't ask the details about what someone does for work when I'm trying to get to know someone.
But you knew that he sold life insurance. You stated that.
I believe that I had a vague understanding that he did something with insurance.
And then he brought that up again at dinner.
No, we didn't talk about his work at dinner.
I thought you said you did talk about, and correct me if I'm wrong, you said you did talk about that he changed the life insurance policy at dinner.
Well, you were asking me if we talked about that he sold insurance, which that didn't happen. But yes, he did tell me that he changed the beneficiary of his life insurance policy at dinner.
Did he tell you how much his life insurance policy was for?
Yes, he did.
What did he say?
$1 million.
Did he tell you how much my life insurance policy was for?
I do not recall.
You don't recall?
We didn't talk about you very much in that vein.
When did you talk to him about me very much then? If it wasn't at dinner, was it in your text messages?
We were talking about what he was going through in the process of separating from you, not about what your life insurance policy was worth. And we talked about you on the phone, and when I say you, meaning what he was doing as he was going through this separation.
So let me understand. You were dating some different men on this website, right? From the websites.
Sure.
Would you say it was common for men to be talking so much about their supposed ex-wives during their conversations with a potential?
It's actually very common.
Really?
Really.
Interesting.
And again, Your Honor, I'm
All right.
going to object to the defendant making comments after her questions. and
I'm
move
sorry,
to
Your
strike.
Honor. I won't do that again.
All right, please stop.
I'll
now.
just ask the questions.
Thank you.
So there were some text messages between you and my husband after the dinner on July 10th. Is that correct?
Correct.
What time would those text messages have occurred?
After dinner,
What time?
10:45-ish.
10:45 to what?
I'm not certain, ma'am. After dinner.
10:45 to midnight, maybe?
I just told you I don't know. Maybe.
What did you discuss in those text messages?
And I'm going to object to relevance again. If there's a specific area.
Sustained.
You testified a minute ago that Charles told you a lot of things about his wife. You didn't say ex-wife, but you said wife. Is that correct?
Okay, sure.
What were a lot of things?
The things that I've testified to.
Can you be more specific?
Am I allowed to do a narrative then?
Let's go on sidebar.
When a child has a parent that passes away, are any benefits paid out to the mother of the child?
Yes, they could be.
How does that depend? What makes the difference on whether or not the mother gets benefits or not?
So it's a benefit called mother, child, and care benefits. So for example, if a mother is married to her father at the time of his death, she would receive called a mother, child, and care benefit. So it'd be a dual benefit for the child as well as her benefit for herself. It'd be the same dollar amount that she would receive as well.
So if the parents were not married at the time that one of the parents passes away, then does the other parent get any survivor benefits?
They would not.
If a surviving spouse remarries, what happens to those benefits given to, say, the mother of the child?
They would then cease upon that marriage.
Would the child still get benefits?
They would.
Okay. Were you asked to look into survivor benefits involving Lori Vallow and JJ Vallow?
Yes, I was.
In your investigation, did you also become aware of benefits being provided to another child of Lori Vallow, Tylee Ryan?
Yes.
During your investigation, did you learn that starting in June of 2018, Tylee Ryan was receiving survivor benefits from Social Security for the death of her father?
Yes.
In 2019, how much was Tylee Ryan receiving?
We have approximately $18.59 per month.
Is there a representative payee for a child who is receiving Social Security benefits as survivor?
Yes, there is.
What is a representative payee?
So based upon a child being a minor, we would appoint a called representative payee. So that person would be the payee on behalf of that child. So they would have a bank account and they would pay money from us on behalf of that child to pay for shelter, clothes, money, that sort of thing, food, that sort of thing.
So in the case of Tylee Ryan, was Lori Vallow the representative payee for Tylee Ryan?
She was.
And is in general, those benefits you said are put into a bank account that can be held by both the child and the payee?
Correct.
Now, if Lori Vallow was married in June of 2018 to someone else, not Tylee's father, would she still receive that mother of survivor benefits?
She would not.
Okay. How does a person go about applying for survivor benefits from Social Security?
So upon the passing of the recipient, say a father, they would have to go into the office or apply online and then have an appointment to confirm the details for that survivor receiving benefits on behalf of that decedent.
Okay. And so that's the normal course of business, is to have someone come in eventually and speak with someone about verifying different important aspects to consider when determining whether or not to provide survivor benefits.
Correct.
During your investigation, did you become aware of Lori Vallow going to an appointment with someone from Social Security Administration related to JJ?
Yes.
When was that?
On or about August 12th, 2019.
During that meeting, did Lori Vallow have to answer questions relating to her relationship with Charles Vallow?
Yes.
Did she have to, for instance, provide the date when she and Charles Vallow were married?
Yes.
When was that?
The date of the marriage, and have to be refreshed from a document for that.
Sure. Let's see if I have the right one here. If I can have my paralegal approach.
It would have been on February 24th, 2006.
And you can leave that with me. Thank you. During that meeting on August 12th of 2019, was Lori Vallow questioned about whether or not she and Charles Vallow were living together at the time of his death?
She was.
And what did Lori Vallow tell Social Security on August 12th of 2019 about whether or not she and Charles Vallow were still living together at the time of his death?
She confirmed they were living together at the time of his death.
Is that important in trying to determine survivor benefits?
It definitely helps the agencies determine if benefits are entitled to the recipient, correct?
Now, as part of your job, sort of working for the Office of Investigations for Social Security, did you become involved in looking at these benefits that were awarded to Lori Vallow and to J.J. Vallow as a result of the death of Leland Charles Vallow?
Yes.
You told us you were familiar with the notice of award letters that Social Security sends out?
Yes.
And are those letters created in the normal course of business?
Yes.
And are they created at or near the time when that person goes in to make that appointment and a decision is made to provide those survivor benefits?
Yes, correct.
If I can have my paralegal approach with 213 and 214? Do you recognize what those two exhibits are?
I do.
And are those the notice of award letter sent to Lori Vallow regarding survivor benefits for both herself and for J.J. Vallow?
Yes, they are.
And those are the documents you talked about that were created in the normal course of business
Yes.
at or near the time of that decision?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state will move to admit 213 and 214.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
213, 214 are admitted.
And if I can get those so I can publish them as well, Your Honor. Elmo, please, thank you. All right. Let's start with 213. Maybe autofocus there. Okay, so what we see here in 213 is this the letter that would be sent to Lori Vallow on behalf of Joshua Jackson Vallow, JJ Vallow.
Yes, correct.
And we see it was sent to an address in Santan Valley.
Yes.
Okay. Does this letter provide or advise how much money that Lori Vallow would receive, or that JJ Vallow would receive as a result of the death of his father?
It does.
And how much would he receive as a result of the death of Charles Vallow?
It'd be $19.51 per month, and also mentions the back pay from the date of death for Charles up until that date of the letter.
Okay. So monthly, the $19.51, and then a back pay of $3,902?
Correct.
Okay. Exhibit 2014. When Ms. Vallow went in on August 12th, would that be the same, during that meeting, would they have been questioning her with regards to both JJ as well as her survivor benefits?
Yes.
So this letter is from that same meeting.
Yes.
In 214 again, this one, we see that it's only addressed to Lori Vallow, but at the same 1658 East Sherry Street in Santan Valley.
Yes.
And how much money was Ms. Vallow set to receive as a result of the death of Charles Vallow?
It would be $19.51 per month.
Is that the same as what JJ was getting?
Yes, it'd be mirroring the same amount that JJ was receiving. Yes, correct.
So basically, she's getting about $4,000 a month?
Approximately, yes.
Now, in these letters and the other documentation you reviewed, we see her as Lori N. Vallow, correct?
Yes.
In your investigation, did you ever learn whether or not Lori N. Vallow ever remarried and became Lori N. Daybell?
Yes.
Can you tell us in your investigation what the date of that marriage was when Lori N. Vallow became Lori N. Daybell?
November 5th, 2019.
And who did Lori Vallow marry?
Chad Daybell.
No other questions for this witness, Your Honor?
Cross?
Mr. Sari, does Social Security, as a surviving spouse, can you get benefits if you didn't have any children?
I believe so, correct? Yes.
Okay, so if you've been married for longer than 10 years, you get spousal surviving benefits, is that correct?
There are some rules for that. I believe that is correct, I believe, yes.
And so if I had been married to my husband for 10 years and his previous wife had been married to my husband for over 10 years, she would also get that surviving spouse benefit?
What's your question again? Who's the she part? Didn't follow that part.
Okay, just a previous person who has been married to my husband previous to me for more than 10 years. I mean, that's what Social Security does, right?
I'm not sure. What is your question? I'm trying to.
Okay, sorry. So if there were two spouses to a deceased husband consecutively, and they were both each married for over 10 years to that same husband, they would both receive a spousal benefit or could apply for and receive that spousal benefit. Is that correct?
That's more of an administrative issue. I have to Obviously, I'm not aware of all those policies for that kind of issue, so I can't really answer yes or no to that question.
Okay. So if it was explained to me when I was at the Social Security office that I could receive that,
Hold on. I'm going to sustain the objection.
okay. But it is possible, you're just not aware of it, is that correct?
I would have to ask an expert in our agency for administrative rules on that.
Okay, and what is your expertise at Social
I'm
Security?
I'm a special agent.
And so you just investigate, is that correct?
I investigate crimes of fraud, waste, and abuse with Social Security, correct?
You investigate fraud, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. But you're not really privy to what an agent might be telling a person as they come in to get Social Security, is that correct?
What they tell an agent, an employee, or what is your question again?
Yes, so you're not really privy to what the employees are telling the regular people that come in to the Social Security office.
I'm not there for those appointments, correct?
So you don't really understand what all benefits can be given?
We with OIG investigate crimes of fraud, waste, and abuse. So we are the experts for that, and we also have experts internally in Social Security we look to for guidance on internal rules that are more complex, if that kind of helps you out.
Okay. So you had said something about mother in care benefits, is that correct?
Yes.
So, and it's the same dollar amount as the child in care benefits, is that correct?
There's two benefits, mother, child, and care, and also for JJ. They're mirroring same amount, correct?
But wouldn't the mother in care benefits be for the child?
It would be if the individual had the child in their care, correct?
Right. So, but a spousal benefit, if you've been married for over 10 years and you didn't have any children, you would still be entitled to that. Isn't that correct?
My understanding is that you have to be a certain age to get that benefit, to be a certain age to apply for that. In this situation here, due to the decedent Charles dying, there was a benefit for the child only that was receiving, as well as child in care. So only two benefits were received for the child, also child in care as well.
So my question is, how is that determined by the employee? Like if it's spousal benefit or if it's a mother in care benefit?
It'd be up to the applicant to apply for the benefits.
So if you applied for the spousal benefit and they gave you the mother in care benefit instead, how would you know the difference? You just know that that was the monthly amount you were getting?
You would receive a letter in the mail. You also would be at the appointment very clearly told what you're applying for. It should not be any confusion at all what you're applying for at that appointment.
Okay, so if you were told that you were getting the spousal benefit,
Yeah, it's sustained.
if an employee told a recipient that they were getting a spousal benefit,
I'll allow him to answer that hypothetical if he knows.
if an employee were to tell someone they were getting a spousal benefit and they received a letter in the mail saying it was a mother in care benefit, should they call the Social Security office and clear that up?
It would be up to the applicant, if they received a letter in the mail, to contact Social Security and say, hey, this is the wrong benefit I'm receiving. So it would be up to the applicant to let Social Security know that benefit is not correct.
So if the employee put it in as something other than they told the recipient, then it would just be up to the recipient to correct that. Is that correct?
Social Security goes off of information that's provided to the agency by the applicant. That makes sense. So it's up to the applicant to be truthful and provide the right information to the agency.
So do you have a copy of my application for either of these benefits?
You'd have to ask the prosecutor for that information.
Okay. Have you ever seen one to your knowledge that you remember?
Yes.
You've seen my applications?
Yes, I have.
And were they for mother in care?
It was for survivors for JJ as well as for mother, child, and care as well.
So the application that I filled out was not for spousal benefit. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
I'm sorry.
He can answer if he knows, if he recalls the answer.
Repeat the question, please.
I'm saying, so of the records that you saw, I did not have a spousal survivor benefit application.
The records I saw were an application for survivor's benefits for JJ, as well as for child and care as well. Two different benefits that you were receiving.
Okay, so is there an application for spousal benefit?
I'm only aware of the two benefits you were receiving, which was for JJ and for mother, child, and care.
So it could have been a mix-up of the employee. Is that what you're saying?
They would have been relying on information you had provided at that application appointment, August 12th, 2019.
And this is a filled out form application? Is that what you're saying? It's not just something you verbally give to the employee?
I believe you could do it online ahead of time, but you were present, I believe, on August 12th at the office to go through line by line, I believe, with that application.
So if I thought I was getting, if a person So in your investigation of this fraud, you have seen all of my applications, is that correct?
I reviewed any and all documents that we have in relation to JJ as well as to you receiving benefits on his behalf, correct?
And you do not recall seeing any spousal surviving benefit application, is that correct?
All that I recall seeing was, once again, the two applications, one for mother, child, and care, and one for JJ as well.
And isn't that a redundant benefit?
Which benefit?
The mother in child care and the child in care. Isn't that that's basically the same thing?
JJ had a benefit for himself solely, then a second one to be mother, child, and care. Does that
To
make
take care of the child.
Correct. The child has to be under your care, custody, and control during that time period, correct?
So when you're receiving these Social Security benefits, they want them to be for the things that you stated previously, right?
I gave a few examples, but it is for the benefit of the child, correct?
Right. And it's supposed to be spent on food and clothes, and it could be spent on an electric bill, and it can be spent on rent. They want you to utilize that money on a monthly basis. Is that correct?
Correct, or you could also conserve it for the child as well, but that is correct.
And that they can do an audit any time of your account to make sure that you're spending it on those correct things. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
And they want it to be spent every month, and you can't really save it for college. Is that correct?
No.
So if an employee told that to a recipient, that would be incorrect?
The benefit is for the child. The money can be saved or spent on the child.
So if a recipient was told that all the money has to be spent every month on the care for the child and could not be saved for college because it is Social Security.
The objection sustained for, it's straying into you testifying, ma'am.
So it is not your understanding that that benefit has to be spent every month. Is that correct?
Sustained.
So you are not aware of that?
Sustained.
Can I have a moment to confer?
Go ahead.
Maybe you can just let us know when you have heard and recognized that as the July 18th of 2019 call.
Yes, I do recognize the phone call.
Thank you. Your Honor, the state will move to admit Exhibit 280.
280.
280.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
280 is admitted.
And if we may publish that.
Claims Department, this is Robin. May I have the policy number? Sure. Okay, I do have the policy pulled up. Who am I speaking with?
This is Lori Vallow. I'm returning your call.
Yeah.
I missed you.
Okay, no problem. Let me just get all of this information up. Okay, so in your voicemail, you stated that you had something that stated you are the beneficiary of the policy.
Right. So I have the original policy where I was the beneficiary, the sole beneficiary, and then we changed the policy to where I was 80% and we added two people, the Porches, who invested in our company for each 10%. And that's the last one I have. That's the last update that I have. So can you tell me when that was changed again? I mean, I know my husband is the agent on record, so he can change it. He's the owner.
Okay, I don't see anything regarding the second change that you said. I don't, and with those percentages, I don't see anything at all with you as 80% at any time.
Okay, so
but
maybe that's something he just told him he was going to do. That's just a handwritten copy I have that I found. So.
Okay, so well, I really can't give too much information, but I can tell you that the beneficiary was changed in March of this year.
Okay. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what he was doing since we have 5 kids and we've been married for 15 years.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I know he owes a lot of people money, and I was worried if I got money, they'd be coming after me for money.
Right, no, I understand that.
But now I will be with none. So, but did he change it to one person, or was it several people?
Unfortunately, I can't release that. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, I know you can't tell. We're in the business. My husband is the agent. He's the agent.
Okay.
So,
Got it. Okay.
We deal with this business all the time, so I kind of know how it works, but I'm completely surprised.
Right.
We have our 7-year-old with autism that we adopted together, so I am surprised that he would do that without telling me.
I'm so sorry.
So, I mean, there's nothing you can do about that, even though it's community public. I mean, it's his policy.
This is a contract that we have with the insured, exactly. So he's able to make any changes, during the lifetime of the policy.
Well, can I check? I mean, I have a policy, a $2 million policy on me. And since he's the agent, would he have been able to change the beneficiary on my policy?
Not if he was the agent. He would have had to have owned the policy, but I can certainly check.
But if he would have signed my name, could he have done that? I wonder.
I mean, I don't, I would hope that wouldn't happen, but let me just pull up. Okay, let me just take a look and see what I can find on you.
Just under Lori Vallow, it would be under Lori and Vallow. We have a $2 million policy on me, but I'm not even sure it's with Banner Life.
I'm not showing that it's with us.
Okay. It might be Life of the Southwest. We work with several companies.
Right.
But I could call them and ask, I'm just asking the question, like, I could call them and ask them and make sure the beneficiary is who I say. I mean,
I would. I mean, if you have a concern of that nature, I certainly would call and check on your own policies if you have concern if something may have happened.
Well, and I would have to change it anyway because he was the beneficiary as far as I know on my policy.
Right. So you would definitely want to update that. at this point, and,
Because
you know.
what happens, like if something happened to me, say today, and it's under him and he's deceased, what happens to that policy?
Well, if there's not every contract's different, but I mean, more than likely, if there was not a contingent beneficiary named, it would go to your estate.
To their estate.
Yeah. But if there's, if there's a contingent beneficiary named, then it would go to that person.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Well, thank you. I just needed that information.
Okay, no, not a problem. All right, you take care.
Okay.
Mhm.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So in this call, we hear yourself again with Miss Vallow,
Yes,
and we hear her telling you that her husband left her with 5 kids to care for, right?
yes,
And she told you that she understands how life insurance works, right?
correct.
That she and her husband run this business about it, right?
Yes,
But then she asks you if an agent would be able to change who the beneficiary was.
correct.
So she didn't really understand it.
I felt that she did not understand it fully.
And again, she told you she understood how this all worked, but then she asked you what would happen if she died. At this point, who would get, her money since her husband had been her beneficiary.
Yes, she did.
So you had to advise her of the fact that if there were contingent beneficiaries, they would get it.
Yes,
Ultimately, did Banner Life Insurance have any insurance policy with Lori Vallow?
no, she did not hold any coverage under Banner Life.
When she was talking to you, at one point she asked you or said, there's nothing you can do about that, right?
Correct.
And there's nothing you can do to change that. That is something that the owner is able to do,
Correct. We could not make any changes.
regardless of if you feel bad for someone.
Exactly.
Is it awkward for you when you have to talk to someone who thinks that they were the beneficiary and learns they're not?
It can be, yes.
Was that your last interaction with Lori Vallow?
To my recollection, yes.
Who did Banner Life Insurance Company ultimately pay the $1 million policy to?
To Mr. Vallow's sister, Kay Woodcock.
And before the insurance company, before Banner Life would pay that out to Kay Woodcock, did you actually have to call and verify with the police that she was not involved in the homicide or the murder of Charles Vallow?
Yes, that's correct.
I have no other questions for this witness.
Cross?
No questions, Your Honor.
Excuse me?
No questions.
All right, are there any questions for this witness from any member of the jury? I don't see any. You can step down, thank you. State can call its next witness.
Thank you. Did you stick up for Charles?
Yes,
Did sticking up for Charles create issues between you and most of your family?
yes,
Did you continue to stick up for Charles even with that happening?
yes.
After you had that argument with your mom, what did you do?
Me and Zach left her house and we were staying at Summer's house, my sister, who was away on vacation. And we were staying at her house and we went back to her house. We were watching her dog.
You were supposed to leave the next morning, Sunday, to go back to Wichita. Did you return back home?
Yes, we did.
Did your son go with you this time?
Yes, he did.
after this whole incident happened, did you not talk with your family for a long time?
Yes.
Did it cause a lot of friction in your family?
Yes.
Have you started to try to talk with your family some?
Yes.
I have no other questions, Your Honor.
Cross?
Mr. Cox, how long has it been since we've seen each other in person?
Don't know.
When was the last time you saw me?
I don't recall.
So, has it been a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 6
Something like
years,
that.
7 years, 8 years?
Something?
Okay, so you have no idea.
Nope.
You have no idea when the last time you saw me in person.
I don't know the year or how many years it's been.
Okay, so did you see me at Colby's wedding in January 2018?
No, I was not there.
You didn't come to Colby's wedding.
No, I did not.
So did you see me sometime that year at my house
Possibly.
where Colby got married? That house.
I did see you at that house, yes.
At least one time.
Yes.
So possibly in 2018.
Yes.
And when was the last time we had any communications?
The last time I remember our communications was you and I were speaking in the kitchen when the family was over.
Okay, so you think that was that time in 2018?
I think so.
Okay. And were we eating my green chili chicken enchiladas?
Do not remember that.
You do not remember that?
Nope.
Is that what I made every time we had a family get together, which was like 10 times a year?
I don't remember that.
Okay. And when was the last time that we had a phone call or text message?
I have no idea.
Could it possibly be around that exact same time?
Possibly.
Okay. So that was possibly in early 2018?
Yes.
Okay. Who do you think initiated the final communication in our relationship?
Who concluded it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So right now it's 2025, is that correct?
Yes.
And so we haven't spoken in about 8 years? Would that be correct?
Probably 7 or 8 years.
Okay. So would you say up until that point that how often would we communicate before that?
Before what?
Before 2018?
Probably on a regular basis. Once a month, twice a month, 3 times a month.
Like a call or a text message?
Yes.
Just keeping in touch?
Yes.
You know of us living in Hawaii and you were living in Kansas at the time?
Yes.
And in your career, you lived in lots of different places, is that correct?
Yes.
Austin,
Yes.
Dallas,
Yes.
New York,
Yes.
Wichita,
Yes.
Sacramento.
Yes.
Did I miss anything?
Others.
And I was in Texas,
Yes.
Arizona,
Yes.
Hawaii.
Yes.
So would you say that we were not physically close during the past 20 years?
Yes, I would say that.
So our communication would be solely family get-togethers, occasional text messages. Is that correct?
And phone calls, yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Cox, did you see or hear or personally witness me conspire with my brother Alex Cox to murder my husband Charles Vallow?
Repeat that again?
Okay. Did you see with your eyes or hear with your ears or personally witness me conspire with my brother Alex Cox to murder my husband Charles Vallow?
No.
Thank you. No more questions.
So I'm going to need you to stay close to me the next couple days. Mel, too. She can't go to Utah. They're planking some kind of intervention, but want Mel out of the way, so I'm left alone. I need to come get the stuff at your house tomorrow and secure it. Lots to do. Thanks for standing by me. It's all coming to a head this week. I will be like Nephi, I am told, and so will you. Lori Daybell, the woman seated over here, wrote this to her brother Alex Cox on July 9th of 2019, 2 days before they killed Charles Vallow. But to understand why this is so meaningful, why this is relevant, you have to understand the context. So let's talk about it. In July of 2019, Lori Vallow was married to Charles Vallow. Lori Vallow lived here in Arizona, Chandler. Charles Vallow lived in Texas. In July of 2019, Lori Daybell was Lori Vallow, married to Charles Vallow. In July of 2019, Lori Vallow wanted to be Lori Daybell, wife of Chad Daybell. And in July of 2019, Lori Vallow wanted to keep the same lifestyle that she had with Charles. And she could get all of this if Charles was dead. She could marry Chad Daybell and become Lori Daybell. She would get $1 million life insurance policy from Charles Vallow. She would get Social Security for herself and their son, JJ, as a child of a dead spouse. And all of this would be true if Charles Vallow was dead. So what about Nephi? Well, Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell, and Alex Cox all believed that those who disagreed with them were dark, possessed by evil spirits, sometimes called Z's or zombies. Sometimes they had names for these evil spirits like Med. Lori, Chad, and Alex used religion, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and a story of Nephi, a prophet, who was directed by the Holy Spirit to kill Laban, to obtain brass plates and secure the long-term prosperity of Nephi's descendants. Lori used this religion and the story of Nephi as justification to kill Charles Vallow, just like Nephi killed Laban. On July 9th of 2019, Lori Vallow invoked Nephi when she messaged Alex to provide them with that religious authority to kill Charles. After months of trying to get rid of him, they were finally ready to be like Nephi. So how did this begin? We go back to 2018. Lori Vallow met Chad Daybell. You will learn that in November of 2018, that Chad Daybell came to Arizona for a Preparing the People conference. And he and others stayed at Lori and Chad's house. Charles was actually out of town with JJ. Lori and Chad acted as if there was nothing between them, but nothing could be further from the truth. By January of 2019, Lori Vallow claimed that Charles Vallow was possessed by an evil spirit that she called Ned. You will see text messages where Lori and Alex refer to him as Ned. During this trial, you're going to hear from some women who initially were close in Lori's circle. These women will tell you they met her through the Preparing the People conference. They are spiritual women within the LDS Church. And initially, they found Lori's spirituality infectious. But the more they listened to Lori, the more they started to find concern with what she was saying. One of them called it red flags. Lori began saying things like she didn't need to repent, that she was beyond that. And you'll hear from these women that that goes against everything that their religion follows. Everyone must repent. You will hear from Serena Sharp that in March of 2019, she attended a girls' weekend with Lori and some other women. They went to the temple, they had lunch, they did volunteer activities, and then Lori asked them to do something a little unusual. She told them that her husband was possessed by an evil spirit, and she referred to that as Ned. She told them that Charles was no longer in his body. She asked them to come together and try to cast out this evil spirit. Serena will tell you that she didn't ask Lori what would happen to Charles if that evil spirit went. She only knew that she had said Charles was already gone. She didn't know if he would come back or his body would just die. Later that month, on March 26th of 2019, Alex Cox texted his sister, Lori Vallow, and said, quote, "Ned is still alive, just confirmed." Lori responded, "It's not Ned. It's a new one. Ned is gone. No one has seen him, right? Just talk to him, question mark." Alex said, "Correct. Charles' body is alive." "What did you learn, question mark?" And Lori responded, "A lot. Still working on it. We'll call you later." As the year went by, Lori and Alex became more determined to get rid of Charles Vallow's body, whatever they wanted to call him. You will hear from Christina Atwood that she attended a gathering on June 9th of 2019. Again with Lori and some close friends, but this time Alex Cox attended. This was the first time she had met him. Christina will tell you that she heard Alex say that he just wanted to kill Charles. In fact, she heard him say this a couple times. And she heard Lori say, in response, that she had been drugging Charles, crushing up JJ's pills and putting them in Charles's protein drinks. Christina will tell you she was so disturbed by this that she actually went and confronted Lori the next day and told her that if Charles ended up dead, she would have to go to the police. That's how disturbed she was. Now, Lori, of course, said it was all a joke. What else could she say? But 1 month later, Alex and Lori created that situation to be like Nephi and killed Charles. What about Charles? You're going to learn that Charles and Lori had been together for a long time. They had adopted one of Charles's family members' children, JJ. JJ was everything to Charles. JJ was the reason Charles and Lori were still together. You'll learn that Charles knew about Lori's beliefs, that he was called Nick or Ned or some name. You will learn that Charles told a lot of people about this. And on February 26th of 2019, Charles made a big decision. He had a $1 million life insurance policy. and his wife, Lori Vallow, had been the beneficiary. He changed it. He changed it to his sister, Kay Woodcock. You will learn he did not have to notify Lori about it, and she had no idea. You'll learn that Charles desperately wanted to bring Lori back to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You will learn that he was close with Lori's brother, Adam, and he was reaching out to him during this time period. You will hear from Adam. Adam will tell you that he himself had heard the defendant say things that were outside the LDS religion, that she was translated. Charles was possessed. He knew she was no longer following the LDS faith. Then, June 28th, Charles found out that Lori and Chad were having an affair. You will hear that he reached out to Lori about it, Chad's wife, and out to Adam Cox about it. Now, you're going to hear about a lot of these things because the police executed numerous search warrants. You're going to hear that they executed search warrants on cell phone records, cell tower records, and iCloud accounts. You're going to learn that an iCloud account is basically a service through Apple where you can store everything. Photos, emails, documents, whatever you want. This can be intentional, or sometimes it can be unintentional. Your phone or your computer may be saving items there without you even realizing it. You'll learn that for years, Lori Vallow had an iCloud account that was loriforstyle@icloud.com. But after Charles learned about Chad Daybell on that June 28th, she created a new iCloud account, LollyTime@icloud account. Many of these text messages between Lori and others that you're going to hear about at trial were recovered from those two iCloud accounts. You're also going to learn about Charles's cell phone. The police eventually recovered it, and they were able to extract the data, look at the messages and things that had been in there. And you're going to learn about those text messages with Adam Cox from July 9th through the 11th. You're going to hear from Adam that they were talking about an intervention, about maybe recording Lori, saying these things and taking those recordings to the stake president, or just confronting the stake president about it. They didn't have an exact plan, but on July 9th, Adam agreed to fly to Phoenix to help try to talk to his sister, talk to the stake president, get her back into this faith. Ultimately, Adam flew to Phoenix on the 10th, as did Charles. Adam will tell you that he actually, when he got his reservation on the 9th from Charles, reached out to his brother, Alex. He asked to stay with him. And Alex said, sure. You'll see phone records. They had a conversation about it. But when Adam flew into Phoenix on the 10th, remember, that's after that message by Lori that he needed to stay close to her. Adam tried texting his brother. Adam tried calling his brother. And Alex didn't respond. Adam didn't know that his brother Alex had been summoned to help his sister Lori be like Nephi, that it was time to kill Charles. The text messages from Lori to Alex about that intervention that she knew about and being like Nephi show that by the evening of July 9th of 2019, Lori knew that Charles was trying to have an intervention. An intervention. In that text message, remember, she said they are trying to have an intervention. She knew it was Charles and others. She also told her brother he had to stay close for the next couple days because she knew that she was going to be seeing Charles on the 11th when he came over to pick up their son, JJ, to take him to school. She told him, it's all coming to a head this week. I will be like Nephi, I am told, and so will you. A few minutes after Lori had texted Alex that message on July 9th that they were going to be like Nephi, Alex called his sister Lori, and they talked for over 56 minutes, planning how they were going to get rid of Charles. Alex would stay close with his gun, and he and Lori would be like Nephi. July 10th of 2019 is a day before Charles was killed. We know from text messages that by 7:18 p.m., Alex was already at Lori's house. He brought a garbage bag with some clothes and an orange duffel bag with his .45 caliber handgun and 2 extra magazines of ammunition. He was prepared. We also know that the evening of July 10th, Charles sent a message to Lori letting her know that he would be over at 7:30 a.m. the next day to pick up JJ, to take him to school. Lori and Alex knew exactly when this murder would happen and where it would happen. They just had to make sure that Charles stayed in the house. You'll hear that on the evening of July 10th, Charles spent his last night alive on a date. He had been on several dating apps and appeared to be moving on. You will hear from his date, Nancy Jo, that she and Charles had met on an LDS dating site a few days before. You will hear that she had talked to him and texted him for hours. Sometimes they would talk for 3 hours on the phone. Nancy Jo will tell you that Charles told her about everything of his relationship, his wife's beliefs, everything that was going on. And he had told her about this change to the beneficiary of his life insurance. She will tell you it sounded like a lot of drama, but she still was interested and wanted to meet this person, and so they met that evening for dinner. She'll tell you that she understood on the 11th that Charles would be picking up his son, that he was actually going to meet a realtor about finding a place to rent here so he could be closer to JJ, and that he was going to try to get in touch with Adam to meet up. And then they were supposed to meet later in the day. She will also tell you that she actually told Charles, kind of joking, but in a way to end the drama, why don't you just tell Lori that you changed the life insurance policy so she knows it's not her? Nancy Jo will tell you the next day, she texted Charles, she called him, and she actually thought he had ghosted her. She didn't know he was dead until a few months later when she saw something on the news, a photo of him, and actually learned that he had been killed on July 11th. So let's talk about July 11th. That morning, Lori Vallow was up early, and she was texting with Chad Daybell. You'll learn that we do not have those text messages. They were not saved in the iCloud, but we have them from the phone records. Alex was already at Lori's house with his gun, and everyone knew that Charles was a punctual person and would be there around 7:30 to pick up JJ so he could get to school. You're going to learn that, like many people, Charles had left his GPS data locating service on his phone. So that means when his phone is moving around, it was constantly documenting with GPS the location of the phone. During this trial, you're actually going to see this data mapped out. You'll be able to see Charles come to the house, and then you're going to see his phone leave with the defendant and what she does all day with it. What we know is that Charles arrived at Lori's house at about 7:35. He texted Adam Cox and told him that Alex, or Al, is here. You'll see from photos that Alex's truck was parked in the driveway. Adam responded, "Really, I wonder why he never called me back." Charles didn't respond to that. Adam then texted, "They're planning something." And Charles responded, "Absolutely." Adam told Charles, "I was supposed to spend the night at his house last night. She probably blocked that." Charles told Adam, "What you do is up to you." Adam then told Charles he was going to reach out to Alex and ask him to come get him and see what Alex would do. And in fact, he did text his brother. You'll learn that Charles read that text message from Adam, but he didn't respond. Adam sent one more text message to Charles at 7:49 a.m. on July 11th. He told him that he and his son were going to go play basketball at 8 p.m. to look for a specific church leader who was usually there and have a conversation with him. Charles Vallow never read that message, but you will learn that Lori and Alex did. Charles went to the front door of 5531 South Four Peaks Place, a house that he had rented for his wife, Lori Vallow, a house that he paid for. Charles would have had to knock on the door, alerting Lori and Alex that he was there. He got JJ, put him out in the car, and then Lori Vallow created the reason to keep Charles from just leaving with JJ. Lori Vallow wanted to stop this intervention. Lori Vallow wanted to stop Charles and Adam from trying to take her temple recommend away. Lori Vallow, who wanted to be Lori Daybell, and Lori Vallow, who wanted Charles's money. So Lori took Charles's cell phone, and she refused to give it back. Lori Vallow, or Lori Daybell, whatever name you want to call her by, is why Charles didn't just leave with JJ that morning. Lori Vallow is why Alex was able to shoot Charles. Lori Vallow is why Charles is dead. So I want to tell you a little bit about the scene, this house, so you can understand what's happening here. When you walk in the front door, there's a big room. It was empty, no furniture. There were mirrors on 2 of the walls, windows on a 3rd wall, and the 4th wall had doorways going into the kitchen and a hallway off to the bedrooms. This is where Charles Vallow was killed. This is where Alex Cox shot him 2 times. The first shot to Charles Vallow was to his chest. It exited out his back. Charles Vallow fell to the ground. He put his left hand to this wound, and blood transferred onto it. You will hear from the medical examiner that this shot went through his heart, and that a person can take seconds to up to 2 minutes to die from that type of wound. You will hear that a person can still talk and move after they're shot in the heart. And we know Charles was able to move since he put his dominant left hand on his chest and transferred that blood to his hand. You will see that. As Charles lay on the floor of 5531 South Four Peaks Place, Alex Cox stood at his feet and fired a second shot. That shot entered his abdomen, and it exited his left shoulder. The angle was significantly upward. Dr. Baumgartner, who is the medical examiner, will tell you that this wound was shored. You will learn that shored means that there was something hard behind that wound. So when the bullet exited it, it caused a different tearing pattern than the other wound that exited Charles's back. It is this shored wound, this exit on Charles's left shoulder, that shows us that there was nothing accidental about this second shot. You will learn from the cell phone that at 7:49, Lori left Charles's house, or left her house with Charles's cell phone his wallet, his rental car, and JJ and Tylee. She drove to Burger King, Walgreens, dropped JJ off at school before she and her daughter Tylee drove back to the house. During this time, while Lori is driving around in Charles's car with his phone, she spoke with her brother Alex twice. The first call was at 7:52 a.m., 3 minutes after she left. The second call was at 8:06 a.m., 17 minutes after she left. You will hear that when Alex and Lori are talking, neither of them had called 911 yet. In fact, you will hear that Alex didn't call 911 until 47 minutes after Lori left. Charles Vallow lay dead on the floor of that house for 47 minutes before he called 911. During this 47 minutes, Alex began staging the scene and making mistakes. You're going to learn that the police found a bat that was located on the right side of Charles to the north of his head. Like he had been holding it, and when he was shot and fell, it dropped, it rolled up against one of the walls that had mirrors on it. What you're going to learn that is, Alex forgot that Charles was left-handed. In fact, you're going to learn that Charles was a semi-professional baseball player. He pitched and he batted left-handed. So that bat was on the wrong side. Next, you're going to hear about an injury to Alex himself. Lori had told police that Charles hit Alex in the head with this bat before Alex shot Charles. Classic self-defense. But in all cases, we must look at the physical evidence because it doesn't lie. And the physical evidence doesn't have a bias or a memory loss. Sometimes it's the lack of physical evidence that doesn't lie. So again, we know that this room where Charles was shot had no furniture, mirrors, 2 walls. You learn that although Lori claimed that Charles hit Alex with that bat and then Alex shot him in self-defense, that Alex's gun had no blood transferred on it. Alex was allegedly struck in the head with a bat by a semi-professional baseball player. Doesn't go unconscious, and he never touches that injury. Pulls out a gun, is able to shoot this man twice, and then he takes the gun down a hallway and puts it into a room. Never apparently touching his head or this wound. And again, Lori says that Alex was hit with the bat in this room by Charles. But again, what we don't see is any blood on the floor. Charles strikes Alex in the head with a bat. They're grappling on the ground. There's not a single drop of blood on the ground in that room. There's pooling of blood around Charles as he lay there on the ground. There's not a drop of blood going down the hallway to where Alex put the gun. There's not a drop of blood in the room where Alex put that gun. There's not a drop of blood on the floor in the kitchen where Alex went to go wash his hands. There are no towels, sheets, clothing, napkins with blood on them, where Alex was holding his head and trying to stop this bleeding from this injury. You will see on body-worn camera, Alex Cox, who's on with 911, come out of the house. He will have a phone in one hand and his other hand up, and you will notice that he actually has pair of sunglasses resting on the top of his head. You will see at some point Alex sits down, and they ask him to move to another location. They talk to him for a while, and then you'll see him eventually touch his head a few times, and then he obtains a napkin or towel, something, and you'll see him at times rubbing his head, patting it. That is the only bloody item you will see. Those sunglasses on Alex's head. He is struck in the head by a baseball player while grappling on the ground. He then pulls out a gun and shoots his brother, puts away this gun, deals with his injury, and yet those sunglasses are still right there on the top of his head. No blood on the floors, no blood on the gun, no damage to the mirrors, that on the wrong side. The lack of physical evidence to help support this self-defense claim. Next, trajectory. The medical examiner will talk to you about the trajectory through Charles's body. The detectives are going to talk to you about the trajectory through the room. Dr. Baumgartner will tell you that the trajectory of that first shot to Charles, the one that went through his chest, through his heart, and out his back, was front to back and slightly downward. It will be less than an inch downward. The detectives will tell you that the bullet from that shot, actually, as it exited Charles's back, ended up across the room in the baseboard. They pulled it out and recovered it. Both of them will say that this shot is consistent with Charles being standing upright with a person in front of him. The gun could be slightly down, or his hand could cause that little bit of downward angle. Dr. Baumgartner will tell you that that second shot that entered Charles's abdomen and exited his left shoulder, that the trajectory of that shot was front to back and significantly upward, 13 inches upward. Dr. Baumgartner is also the one who will tell you about that shored wound. What you will hear from the detectives, though, is that when they found Charles on the ground, off to the side of his left shoulder was the other bullet on the ground, not embedded. They'll also tell you that when they finally moved Charles, they took his body away, they cleaned up the blood on the ground, and they noticed a defect in the flooring, in the wood, consistent with a bullet striking the ground. That defect was located where Charles's left shoulder had been. You will hear that both Dr. Baumgartner and the detectives found the trajectory. The wounds were consistent with Charles laying on the ground, Alex being at his feet when that second shot was fired. The physical evidence does not lie. Charles was on the ground when Alex Cox fired that second shot. The injuries to Charles, the location of the bullet strikes, the trajectory of the injuries both in Charles and in the house all show this was not self-defense. This was a staged murder scene. I told you that Lori Vallow left the house at 7:49 a.m., and we know this because of Charles Vallow's cell phone. The 911 call was placed at 8:36 a.m., 47 minutes later. The police arrived at 5531 South Four Peaks Place at about 8:41 a.m. Lori Vallow and her daughter Tylee returned to the house at 8:48 a.m. When the police first contacted Lori Vallow, they thought she had no idea that her husband was dead, that he'd been shot and killed. Initially, you will see body cam footage of an officer going up and just getting her information. Lori doesn't ask, why are all these police here? Why is there a fire truck here? Why is my brother sitting on the ground over there? Or is he okay? Instead, she comments about her neighbors. You'll learn that the police then pulled her aside to do what they call a death notification, to let her know that her husband was dead. Only to their surprise, she told them she knew, she was there. So at this point, the police knew they needed to take her to the police station and question her. You'll learn that Lori Vallow was interviewed by the police. She was treated very kindly. The police asked her what happened. Lori Vallow told the police that she took Charles's cell phone. She admitted that she was the reason that Charles didn't just leave and take JJ to school. She told police in no uncertain terms that Charles was demanding his phone back, and she refused to give it back. She told the police that even as Charles screamed at her for his phone, she walked away from him, wouldn't give it to him. No matter what happened or what Charles said or did, she would not give his phone back to him. Lori told police that her daughter, Tylee, came out of the room during this screaming with a bat. That Charles took it away from Tylee, and Tylee fell on the ground. And she told Tylee to go out to the car with JJ. She still didn't return the phone. She told police that Alex came out, that he and Charles got into this scuffle with the bat, that Charles hit him in the head with the bat. She still didn't give Charles back the phone. What she did instead was take his phone and go around that wall into the kitchen. Left the situation. Time to let brother Alex be Nephi. While she's in the kitchen, she said she heard the gunshot, came out, saw Charles on the ground, and her brother standing at Charles's feet. Then she told the police she left. You'll learn that the police actually had no idea that Lori still had Charles's phone. Even when they're interviewing her, she still had it. Police are processing the house, looking for it. Where is it? They can't find it. Later in the afternoon, you'll hear that the police actually called Lori and Alex and asked them to come back to the scene. And when Lori arrived, they told her they couldn't find Charles's phone. And she told the detective that she found the phone in the car. Found it in the car. She gave Charles's phone to Detective Enclan and then provided her with Charles's PIN number to get into the phone. You'll learn that after those interviews in the morning, Lori and Alex went back to Alex's house in Santan. And there they went through Charles's phone. You'll learn that Alex actually took photos of some of the messages between Charles and Adam, including Adam's flight reservations. And he later sent those to his sister, Lori. July 11th. Lori didn't tell any of Charles's family he was dead. She didn't tell Adam that Charles was dead. She certainly knows they had been talking. The next day, Lori texted Charles's sons from his prior marriage and told them, "Your dad is dead." Charles's sons reached out to their Aunt Kay about this, and you'll learn that Kay and her husband had to Google this, see if it was true. They found out that Charles had been shot. So what about the money? That life insurance policy. Charles Vallow had $1 million life insurance policy. When he got it, his wife, Lori Vallow, was the beneficiary. We know that Charles died on a Thursday, July 11th. That next Monday, July 15th, Lori Vallow called Banner Life Insurance. The call was recorded, and you will hear it. She told the agent that Charles had been accidentally shot. It was an accident. And that she was the beneficiary. both of those statements are not correct. There was nothing accidental about that shooting, and she was not the beneficiary. 3 days later, on July 18th, Lori Vallow learned that she was not the beneficiary. Banner Life Insurance could not and would not tell her who Charles had changed it to. But Lori was angry about it. And you're going to learn that on July 18th of 2019, there's another very important text message in this case. The first one on July 9th between Lori and Alex when they discussed being like Nephi. And on July 18th, 7 days after Lori and Alex killed Charles and Lori learned she is not getting $1 million life insurance policy, she sends a message to Chad Daybell. Quote, "So I talked to the insurance company. He changed it in March. So it was probably Ned before we got rid of him. You can't tell me who, of course, but it's done. I'll still get $4,000 a month from SS." In this text message, Lori tells Chad that it was probably Ned, that evil spirit inhabiting Charles's body, that changed the life insurance policy before they got rid of him, before they killed him. After Lori found out that she was not the beneficiary, she was so angry that she actually went through Charles's laptop, found the beneficiary change form, sent photos of that to Chad, and she also confronted Kay about it. The $1 million she had expected to get was gone, but as Lori told Chad on the 18th, she was still going to get money from the death of Charles. Lori knew already that a month before going to see Social Security, how much money she would get for JJ and for herself as a caregiver as a result of Charles being killed. $4,000 a month. Ladies and gentlemen, the evidence in this case is going to show you that Lori Vallow Daybell conspired with her brother Alex Cox to kill her husband, Charles Vallow. When Charles let Lori know he was coming into town, she quickly got the pieces into place. Alex came to her house with a gun. Lori created the way to keep Charles inside the house so that Alex and she could be like Nephi, to kill Charles Vallow to better at least her life so she could be with Chad and she could live off that life insurance policy. As we go through this trial, you will see photos of Charles's injury, photos of the crime scene, and hear testimony that will prove that this was not self-defense. As we go through this trial, you'll be provided with phone calls, emails, text messages, and hear testimony that lays out the motive for this murder, money, and Chad Daybell. You will see text messages and hear from people who Lori trusted and who were later pushed away, people who really don't want to be part of this trial, but were pulled into it by this defendant and her desire to get rid of Charles to be with Chad. People who heard Lori for months saying Charles was gone, possessed. People who will establish that this murder was premeditated. You will hear text messages from July 9th by Lori to her brother Alex Cox, that he had to stay near her, that it was all coming to a head, and she would be like Nephi, and so would he. A justified killing, just like the prophet. And later, the text message to Chad where she told him that Charles changed the life insurance policy before they got rid of Ned. A confession by Lori of how religion and money were twisted to justify Charles's murder. At the end of this trial, the state will come to you and ask you to hold the defendant responsible for the death of Charles Vallow and find her guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Thank you.